please call the roll.
Griffin, McCormick,
Present.
Bishop,
Here.
Caldwell, Hairston,
Here.
Casey,
Present.
Valencia,
Present.
Santana, Spencer. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please excuse Council President Griffin from today's hearings. Thank you. Municipal courts, please come up. Thank you. All righty, we're going to kick off with Ordinance 1118-2023 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance. Try that again. Emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance on behalf of the Cleveland Municipal Court to apply for and accept a grant from the Alcohol, Drug, Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County for the Addiction Treatment Program Administration Fee Fiscal Year 24 program. Who is kicking us off? Mr. Administrator or?
Yep, I'm just going to turn it over to the courts to explain the grant.
All righty, Mr. Administrator, good afternoon. Please introduce. We know your team, but for the TV.
Good morning. My name
And
is
pull
Russell
that
Brown.
closer to you, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Russell Brown. I'm the Court Administrator with Cleveland Municipal Court, and I am here to seek a request for legislation regarding our addiction treatment program.
All right. To our CFO.
Hi, I'm Michelle Kay. I'm the Finance Director for Cleveland Municipal Court.
All right. So we've got a accept the grant from the Alcohol, Drug, Addiction, Mental Health Services Board. Is this your? Can speak a little bit more on this grant? It's $21,984.
Yes, and it's basically it's an addiction treatment program that expands our evidence-based supervision and treatment services for the defendants of the Greater Cleveland Drug Court and the Human Trafficking Specialized Docket. The goal of the program is to reduce recidivism and substance abuse among high-risk participants with substance use disorders, thereby increasing their likelihood of successful long-term recovery. The grant period is from July 1st, 2023, with no expiration date of fund usage.
Got it. Is this a grant that we've received in the past historically?
Yes, we have, and each year it kind of expands $2,000 to $3,000 a year.
Great. We know this is a critical service for the court system, so thank you. What questions do I have on Ordinance 1188, a grant for the mental health and addiction docket in Cleveland Municipal Court? Hearing none, Ordinance 1188, 2023 is approved. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Economic Development, come on up. Good afternoon, Director. I'm going to start with Ordinance 1029, 2023 by Councilmembers McCormick, Hairston, and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the mayor and the commissioner of purchases and supplies to acquire reconvey properties presently owned by Erie View Holdings LLC and/or its designee located at 1301 East 9th Street and 100 Erie View Street for the purpose of entering into a chain of title prior to the adoption of tax increment finance legislation authorized under Section 570941 of the revised code for the Erie View Tower Galleria Parking Garage Project. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm joined here today with Robin Brown from our staff, as well as John Pinney, Rich Morehouse, and Charles Bolton from Corman Jackson Krantz, representing the owner and developer of this project. I think I would like to start this off today by saying this is a catalytic project for our city. I think, as you guys all know, Cleveland's downtown, like most of America's downtowns, are going through an intense transition period right now. The pandemic necessitates that we reimagine our downtown. I don't think I need to explain to you, about 60% of our general revenue fund is generated from downtown Cleveland, right? Luckily, we are a little bit ahead of the curve as we go through this. I think that you all know that Cleveland is a national leader in adaptive reuse of buildings at downtown, which is important because we're talking about a 40-story building that is approximately 80% vacant, right? But I also like to remind people that we have not rehabilitated all of those historic buildings downtown because we love historic preservation. We have done it because it is an important financing tool to help make numbers work in a city where it has always been challenging to make those numbers work, right? So, and I'd also say, as somebody who spent over 10 years in the office design, development, development and construction industry that the idea of shrinking office spaces is nothing new, right? And yet the pandemic has accelerated that a tremendous amount. And so if we look at the offices of the future, and there always will be need for offices, they're going to be the highest quality offices with amenities inside and out that survive. And all of those are reasons why we feel that this is a different project. It is why we so strongly support it, because this is not just about your typical conversion of an office building into residential. This is about a high-value jobs creation project, right, that is catalytic to our downtown. We are looking at a roughly $200+ million project that is not only going to be 227 apartments, over 300,000 square feet of rehabbed office space, also new hotel that's coming into play, and it is going to create over 800 permanent jobs with a $70 million payroll in downtown. And as we talk about complex tools like tax increment financing, and I know we had this conversation a little bit the other day, please know and understand that for the roughly estimated $1.6 million of investment that will come only if this project happens, Cleveland schools, once tax abatement burns off, will generate about $594,000 annually in this. That is about $8.9 million over the life of that tax increment financing that Cleveland Metropolitan School District will get only if this project moves forward, right? So again, I believe that this is a completely catalytic project. I'll follow up with Ms. Brown over here to see if I've missed anything. I probably have. I've only been here for a few weeks. And then we'll turn it over to the team from KJK who can walk through the actual project with
All
you.
right, Robin?
Good afternoon. So this is the first part of the TIF. So what we're requesting is to enter into chain of title. And just for our incentive, the developer has requested a non-school TIF on the commercial parcels in years 11 through 30, following the expiration of the enterprise zone tax abatement, and also a non-school TIF on the residential parcels in years 16 to 30 following the expiration of the residential tax abatement.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Appreciate that.
Hand it over to Mr.
All right, Mr. Penny, tell us more about this project.
I think you know more about it than I do at this point. We've presented multiple times, but first of all, I want to thank everybody for their time and all of the support from the administration, from the council. The good news is I just hung up in the hallway with about 25 people from the various deal team components, including Huntington Bank and their council, and we are moving forward with our financing and our capital stack. It has been a long road getting to this point, but as I mentioned at the prior hearing last week, the developer is now confident that the project is moving forward. We have released architects and engineers to begin formal SD development, which should be complete in November. That's schematic design, and then construction drawings are underway. Should be finished in early 2024 with first round of bidding in the first quarter of 2024. And we have secured a federal, state, and TMUD tax credit investor. We are moving forward with finalizing those terms. They're on very favorable terms despite the challenges in the market. We did experience a setback, which I'll note, and we overcame it. It was Huntington reducing their senior position and the debt from over $80 million to now about $40 million. Some of that is banking regulations and the tightening of the credit markets, but we were able to secure PACE financing, and Huntington did approve the use of PACE. And we feel like we've then completed the capital stack along with the other components. So moving forward nicely, really do appreciate the support. I'll walk you through the project briefly since I've already presented this a couple of times, but very little has changed about the project, just the financing and the capital structure. I think everybody's familiar with Erie View. The complex is about an entire square block, over 1 million square feet of space. Summary, it's a 40-story, as the chair mentioned, a 40-story building. It is mostly vacant. It's a great building for this adapted purpose. The views from all sides, the 360-degree views, are incredible. The Galleria is part of this, over 200,000 square feet. We do have some renderings to show you for the redesign of that. As mentioned, it's a mixed use, a 210-key luxury hotel. It'll be owned, managed, and branded by the W. And that's floors 5 through 12. And this is one of the first concepts in the world where Marriott will also manage the apartments. So every employee who works at the hotel and who also works in the management team in connection with the apartments will be a corporate Marriott employee with corporate's benefits and comp. The nice thing about that is it's not a franchise, it is the actual corporate brand. We will retain 300,000 square feet of office space. We are seeing a tightening in the market. The Class A space, as the chair mentioned, is tightening. That's in Key Tower and one or two other buildings. We think with the amenities that it'll offer nice space for users, especially factoring in that our completion timeframe is about 24 months. So we'll be coming into the market, maybe on the other side of the office market that we're currently seeing. The redeveloped Galleria will be part of it. We are working on concepts now and have hired a New York and Chicago-based architecture team who will be working with a number of local partners to develop new concepts for that space. And as mentioned, we do have some renderings. Here's a stacking plan. I think some of you remember the top of the town. That will be a feature of this building. We're hoping to bring it back to life and make it even better, especially with the W and the Marriott's design teams really taking the lead on that. There'll be, as mentioned, the restaurants and renovated office floors, the W, the Galleria, and the hotel components. So the building does lay out quite nicely. The elevators have already been upgraded. A lot of the building systems have been upgraded. So it's really just a full interior restoration. Here's the development team. The Kassouf family purchased it, and they've been very patient. They are putting a substantial amount of capital into this, and we're pleased to advise that they are moving forward with the architectural design. We have architects engaged. This is just the beginning. We do have a construction manager partner on it, but I will note that the project will be bid, subject to all parties agreeing to the community benefits agreement that we are actively negotiating. Here are some renderings of potential redesign images of the Galleria. As I mentioned, we're in the early stages of this, and we expect to work closely with council and the administration to come up with concepts that make sense for the downtown community. The skin will be restored. Some of the components are non-historic, such as the granite surrounds. It'll go back to the original frame design. It just also seems more appropriate and modern. This is actually a view looking east, and we're trying to discuss with the owners of 55 and 65 Erie View a repurposing of this alley or this walkway, and I think it actually has a formal name, but we're trying to work through that now. Here's the interior, really trying to bring the Galleria back to life with some concepts that make sense and are sustainable. Very early phases, but it is a great structure, a great building. It has a lot of possibilities. Here's our sources and uses. As mentioned, it's a substantial project, over $200 million in total sources and uses. We feel like after months and months and many, many versions of the capital structure that we have finalized it. We had a great call just a bit ago with Huntington, and we are moving to a what we call as a soft closing and then a hard closing once the final construction bids are secured in the first quarter of 2024. Demolition will start likely before the end of the year, so we'll be filing a permit for that to move forward. This project has received substantial support from the state. It was one of the largest TMUD award recipients at $13 million. It has $10 million in state historic tax credits through both rounds, one initial round and then the increased round. We're expecting $15 to $20 million in federal historic tax credits and then the construction financing by Huntington. So like I said, great participation by the state. It takes these types of components and state programs to be able to execute a project at this level. And then this is just a description of the ordinance. This may be the prior ordinance, right? Yeah, it is. So again, I want to thank everybody involved. The city's been a great partner, been patient. And on behalf of the developer and the entire development team, we just want to say thank you. It's been great support. It's been a heavy lift, but the good news is this is a project that is happening. It's going forward, and with these final pieces, it'll be a great redevelopment opportunity for as Tom mentioned, for a building that is mostly vacant and occupies almost a full block in the city's boundaries, in the downtown. So thank you again. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Penny. Does that conclude the presentation, Director?
Yes.
All righty. Councilman Hairston, this was reviewed by the Development Planning Sustainability Committee.
Yes, it was, Mr. Chair, and this will not be the last time that this project will be in front of us. So, yes, this was heard in DPS. As we all know, this is the first of two pieces of a TIF. This is the chain of title. This project will come back to us again for the actual TIF legislation itself. The committee was fully supportive. Thank you to the development team. Thank you to ED for presenting a very detailed presentation to us previously. Again, now in the future, when we come back to the table, have no unreadiness and ask my colleagues to support. We know how the history of this facility here, Erie View in the Galleria. You know, I can't tell you how many times I was stopped in the streets by residents who read the news story, who saw the news, and who said, "Top of the town coming back?" Again, I had no idea what the top of the town was, but apparently, you know, this was it back in the day for a lot of Clevelanders in our community, and so they are thrilled to see the top of the town being considered to be put back in its former use. And so again, Mr. Chairman, you know, don't have any unreadiness at the moment. What I will add to you before I turn it over is that as a developer indicated, in the project team indicated along with ED, that this project is subject to community benefits agreement. So they are going through the process now and negotiating the community benefits agreement in accordance with the CBO that was passed by Cleveland City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair of Development, Anthony Hairston. Appreciate that. All right, I've got Mike Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, and to the director who's here, and to the folks representing the project. So this is the second piece, correct? I thought there were a total of two pieces coming through on this project, or three? Is it two or three?
So the first piece was the commercial tax.
Yes. I'm just trying to understand where we are in the process.
Yes, through the chair to Councilman Polensek, the first piece was the 75% 10-year tax
Yes,
abatement.
right.
And this is the first, this legislation today is the first piece of the TIF. So it will come back for the actual TIF agreement.
So, but this is the second piece then, correct?
Yes,
So then there's going to be one more piece of legislation coming in on the project?
yes,
And then that will be it?
yes.
Okay. So the entire project is estimated to be $217 million, correct?
I believe 214. Is that the 17?
Is that 217?
217.
Okay, that's what I thought, 217. So at this point, how much of the Galleria is occupied?
About 15-20%.
15, 20%, okay. And of the Erie View Tower itself, you indicate about 40%?
It's one law firm is moving to the post office building. I think that brings it down to about a net 30%.
Yeah, okay. Well, as I said at the previous hearing, I can remember as a very young, as a child, when the Erie View went up, and that was the outside of then Terminal Tower. That was a skyscraper. That was it going up in the city of Cleveland, and how we all expected, you know, great things to happen as a result of that. And then when Mr. Jacobs built the Galleria and took over the tower as well, we thought, again, this would be the impetus to really jumpstart that entire area to the east of 9th Street. And then we all know what happened with the economy and then, unfortunately, the pandemic. So I think at this point, based on what I've read, what I know, and my own discussions with the participants involved, as Councilman Hairston indicated and others, you know, I don't think we have any other choice. If we want to see something happen with Erie View, and we want to see something happen with Galleria, we have to support this project, because if not, it's going to continue to sit there. And when I walk through Galleria, it is It's tragic to what's happened there as a result of the economy. It's tragic. And then again, to see that this wonderful building, Area View, which is a well-built structure, again, is vacant as much as it is extremely troubling as well. So I think if we're going to do anything to hope that development spurs to the east, we have to support this project. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm here to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Polensek. Do I have any other questions on ordinance number 1029? Councilman Conwell.
Very fast. You know, man, through the chair, with the top of the town, you mentioned, I remember the top of the town. Yeah, young councilman. Yeah, it was really, really cool. So he's looking at bringing that back, the odds. So what are the odds, the top of the town?
Of actually it coming back? It's 100%. It is a
Oh,
requirement.
man, that's cool, man.
Yeah, it's a requirement by Marriott.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So, you know, when I mentioned, I went for a tour through the chair, and I mentioned to him, we discussed that, and we discussed the arts being in there also. Did he mention that to you? We talked about it, and we had a sit down, and Joe Jones was there, and the council president was there, and I know that council member Anthony Harrison was going to get on the community benefits, so I'm not going to go there with that. But I do want the arts put into the community benefits.
Agreed. I think it is part of the component, or has been part of the discussion, and I know that based on my discussions with the developer, certainly open to that. And also, I did forget to mention, we do intend to actively engage CPP about providing service to the building.
That's good.
Yeah, in all the issues that we're dealing with, it did fall off the radar a bit, and for that, I apologize. I just want everybody to know, but it will be something that we actively pursue, and we look forward to the partnership with CPP on the building.
You know what? With I think it's a $150 million capital project with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and you're right up the street, we could, you could look at, I'm just giving you a suggestion, if that could, some kind of way, because you got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame there, they bring in a lot of business there. Some kind of way we could integrate something there that they can have people to come to the top of the town, because, you know, a lot of the jazz musicians and the rock musicians, we were there at the top of the town gigging, man. So if you had that kind of integrated in with that, that would really be cool beans. Through the chair to, I forgot your name, I'm sorry.
It's John Penny. It certainly makes perfect sense. I have the pleasure of serving on the Rock Hall board, and I found Greg Harris's willingness to discuss these types of projects to be fantastic. I will certainly reach out to him and see if there's a possible partnership. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, because it fits right in. Hey, thank you for being on the board. You guys do a lot of good work there. We'll talk about that later. Greg is doing a great job over there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's really cool. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate those comments. So, and I'm chairing it, but this is in Ward 3. And as I noted earlier in committees, fully support this project, as has been discussed prior to this committee and in this committee, a significantly underutilized building that desperately needs a new life. So, but again, I've spoken extensively about it in former committees. So for brevity purposes, I'll leave it at that. Any additional questions on 1029-2023? So moved. Hearing none, 1029-2023 is approved. Please sign. Thank you.
Thank you all again.
Alrighty, ordinance number 1091-2023 by Councilman McCormick, Harrison, and Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a tax increment financing agreement with Apartment 92, the Apollo LLC, and/or its designee to assist with the financing of the Apollo Mixed-Use Development Project to be located at 1250 Riverbed Street, to provide for payments to the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, and to declare certain improvements of real property to be a public purpose. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'm joined here today with Kevin Schmatzer from our staff, as well as Adam Rosen, who is representing the owner and developer in this. I think I'd just like to begin and say, as we were discussing in the last project, Cleveland has been a national leader in adaptive reuse of historic buildings. I think this certainly fits that mark. Also, this has been vacant for nearly a decade. Before that, I will say it was lightly used. This building has been underutilized for almost the entirety of my lifetime that I've been around. But it is an important catalytic process. It lives right at the base of the Cuyahoga River, in front of some important city investments in Heritage Park, as well as the upcoming Irishtown Bend that it can leverage. And again, I think that as we get into why do we use programs like tax increment financing, which is taking value that is only created through the project. This is a project that will generate, once tax abatement rolls off, $158,000 annually for the school board, which means over the life of this TIF, you're looking at about a $2.3 million investment in the Cleveland schools that would not happen if it were not for this project. And so also I think very important, you see up on that screen up there, Mike Apt, the developer on this, is a minority developer, right? And I think that as we continue to build minority developers on the city, it's very important that we invest in them. And so with that, I will hand it over to Mr. Schmatzer and Mr. Rosen to walk through a presentation on this, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. Thank you, all committee, for this presentation. Before you, though, with Director McNair on this project, this is being developed by Michael Apt. Michael Apt moved to Cleveland when he was at graduate school, and in 8 years ago, that would be 2015, he formed the Apt Development Group, and he's built, and he stayed here in Cleveland. He's built his successful business. He's purchased several buildings, and he manages several properties. And now he is taking a jump into redeveloping this long-abandoned building. This building here is adjacent to, on the waterfront, the riverfront, where the city just did some significant renovation to the city park. This problem has been a property, if any of you have walked down over there. There was abandonment, dumping, and 2 years ago in the summer of 2021, there was a gentleman who was shot and killed out there in front of this building by the parking lot. This building, once it's completed with the investment, it's going to have significant views not only of the river, but of the city also. The building has, the proposal has about 70 apartments, and including one commercial unit as far for this project. Has about 35,000 total square feet. This building was built in the late 1800s, like many of these buildings that we have in the city of Cleveland. It was built for industrial use. The building was added on, and it was in use for manufacturing until approximately the late 1970s, early 80s, when it went empty. In the 1990s, I'm going to date myself a little bit here. When I was in graduate school in the 90s, there was some quasi-apartments that I went to when I worked down the flats when I was going to graduate school. I don't know if they were legal or not, but they were apartments and people were living in them. But it lasted for, I think, just a hot minute. I'm going to turn this over to Adam. He's going to talk a little bit more about the current conditions, and he's going to talk about the financing on this project that they've secured so far.
Mr. Rosen.
Thank you, Chair, and members of the committee. Good afternoon. As you see here, here's some exterior photos of the building. You should all be familiar with this building and its prominent location along the Cuyahoga River and the west bank of the flats. There's going to be a significant adaptive reuse of the structure using historic tax credits. And so it's been through several rounds of back and forth with the State Historic Preservation Office and is currently in back and forth with the City of Cleveland Building Department, especially as it relates to the connection to the viaduct. Here's some interior conditions. This will be a total rehab renovation, including all the amenities for multifamily. There will be several units in the building dedicated to disabled and handicapped individuals. The developer has a military background and is very keen on providing housing for veterans. Some more pictures there. Here's some of the project details, as Mr. Schmatzer alluded to. 70 units, one commercial unit, the total square footage there. As far as financing goes, we're in the final stages of identifying gap financing. We also will be using likely PACE financing here to close the financing gap, in addition to the state and federal historic tax credits, as well as City of Cleveland Housing Trust Fund dollars through the home program and community development. Development costs have increased significantly since this project began planning 2 years ago, And so, we've been kind of moving along with the winds of the interest rates and rising construction costs to be able to get this across the finish line, and we're very, very close. Here's some of the numbers again in terms of the financing, as well as the reasons why the TIF is so important, given the location of the building and the connection of the viaduct and all of those things. This is an important project for the city of Cleveland. And finally, again, here's a little bit of what the building will look like when it's complete, including an entranceway through the viaduct for residents.
To the chair, to council, just to wrap up here on the presentation, just some financial summary. We did go through our financial consultant on this project thoroughly in detail on this, and when we got through, the financial consultant and with myself went through and made the recommendation with the numbers for this project that there should be a 30-year TIF on this, and here's some numbers on this. What Director Monair had given you about the estimated non-school TIF over the term of the TIF is $347,590. What the schools are going to get upon the expiration of the TIF, or I'm sorry, upon the expiration of the residential tax abatement, what's going to be increased that they are going to get, that does not include the increased investment, what is not in this table, of the commercial component, which is not abated. So the schools will continue to get the value of that, and including the commercial component, which is not in this, that the schools will get. Again, there is no commercial tax abatement, so that's why I wanted to point out that the schools will be getting that increase on the square footage of on the commercial component. The significant, the minimum number of jobs, the 400,000 new payroll, and if you calculated that frozen over the term of the TIF, the city of Cleveland is going to get $300,000 of additional revenue, and that's if those wages, that payroll, stayed frozen throughout the 30-year term without an escalator. That concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you to the team and Mr. Rosen for being here today on behalf of the developer. Councilman Hairston, 1091-2023 was approved by DPS. Can you speak to it, sir?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This ordinance was approved and supported by DPS committee. As noted, this is a minority developer. This is one of the few minority developers that exist across our city and across our region. And the committee appreciated the presentation and the TIF analysis summary that was presented by the department and development team. One of the things along the way, and as we continue this process around TIFs, it came up that we wanted to make sure that we have some sort of analysis or some sort of summary that we were able to see how much the value of the TIF is and what the uses would be and how this would affect the schools and what benefits exist. And so thank you to the department and development team for providing this analysis, because this is very helpful, right? And we want to make sure that we continue this for every single TIF ordinance that comes along from now into infinity, that we make sure that we get that information, because it really is very helpful. There was no issues with this TIF, and the committee was happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Mike Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, and to whoever can answer. The connectivity from the proposed project to the bridge, will that continue at the very top there?
Councilman, and through the chair, yes. The plan there is to have a renewed connection between where the commercial unit is on the top, on the 6th floor of the building.
So that will remain a commercial unit up there?
Yes, that's a commercial unit that the commercial users and office, folks will be able to access through the top of the viaduct.
Okay. Who owns the viaduct? Is it the city or the county?
County.
To the chair, to the county.
The county.
To the councilman, it's the county.
Okay. So then the area under the arches, is that under the control of the county as well, or the city?
City.
The city, because I see one picture where there's a park or a public gathering area under there, which I think is kind of neat to have that under the archway. I'm very much aware of the building sitting there
Councilman,
vacant
this one here, you're talking
for
about.
a good. we heard at the table 10 years. I think it's longer than that, quite frankly, that this building's been empty.
I would agree.
Because I can remember one of the previous owners, and I was in there many, many years ago for an event. And so I'd say this place has been vacant for a very long time. So I think it's a great reuse of a historic building. Are there elevators in this building?
Councilman, through the chair, yes, there will be elevators installed. I think there are some existing, but they're all going to be replaced.
Okay. No, I think it's a wonderful addition to to that whole viaduct area, rather than have this derelict building sitting there like it has been for years. So I support the project. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Brian Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have a question, not so much regards to this, but since we have the director and Mr. Schmatzer here at the table, it is regarding TIFs, though. Is there a way possible, and please educate us on this, that we can align TIFs with the current property owners of the property? I know we do it to the property, but like one thing we saw in the flats, right, was if we give this 30-year TIF, but then that could also be an incentive for somebody to come in and also sell the property in 5 years, right? Because that could be part of a selling aspect or selling point of a property. And we saw it happen at least once that I know of in the city of Cleveland. But is there a way, just to start the conversation, right, not regarding this piece of legislation, to start the conversation that the TIF could remain in as long as the current property owner, or if they meet their demise or something like that? You know what I'm saying? Whereas they can't use the TIF as a selling point, 4 or 5 years down the road.
So through the
Mr.
chair,
Chairman, thank you.
Councilman Casey, I do understand what you're saying. My understanding that would be practically very difficult, right? And that is because oftentimes the way the TIF works, right, is that these incomes are generated, they are collected at the county, right? They come and they flow through the city, they go into an account which is then put into part of the financing mechanism, right? So oftentimes these are part of the actual project cost, so they are associated with the project itself. So essentially what you would be saying, if that were the direction that you were to go, is that projects could never change hands, right? Because, which also isn't realistic for a lot of reasons, right? So I don't know the answer on technically whether or not it's possible. My professional opinion is that it would make things very difficult.
Councilman, if I may on that point, though, I mean, I'm very interested in this conversation. You know how I feel about the project in my ward that you're referring to,
Right.
which is one of my least favorite votes I've ever taken in my life. And not these projects, one
Right,
in
right.
the past. How do you prevent public tools being used to increase profit margins? I think it's a really important question.
Yeah, and the answer's not here at the table. I just wanted
Right,
to,
right.
to
No,
bring that up.
it's-
Yeah.
But if that's conversations that we could probably start, outside the table to bring these up to guarantee that we don't have developers coming in using, public funds, redoing a building, and then profiting off of that, using that TIF as a tool to profit if you go to sell the property. Do you know what I'm saying? That just doesn't seem right. So if that's just a conversation we can start having in the future, off the table, I just wanted to bring that up now because we're talking about TIFs. So thank you.
Through the chair to Councilman, understood.
Thank you,
Look forward
Councilman.
to it.
Alrighty, any additional questions on 1091, 2023? Hearing none, 1091, 2023 is approved. Thank you so much, Director. Port
Thank
Control,
you.
come on up. Ordinance 1010, 2023 by Councilmembers McCormick and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Port Control to enter into a lease agreement with Aircraft Service International, Inc., doing business as Menzies Aviation for the use of space located in the passenger terminal building at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport for an office and break room relating to airline fueling operation services for multiple airlines, and to enter into ground lease with Aircraft Service International, Inc., DBA Menzies Aviation for property located on a portion of city-owned property for fueling operation services for a period of 1 year, with 4 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Port Control. Director, talk to us about fueling airplanes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Fueling airplanes, yes. So Menzies is a current tenant at Cleveland Hopkins. They provide vital services to a number of our passenger airlines at the airport. The primary service that they provide is fueling. So what they are seeking to do is to lease space from us, about 1,100 square feet on the ramp level of Concourse A, and that would be for operational uses, primarily for employee break room space and those types of things, and then also an area that would be utilized for their equipment and their vehicles. So as you mentioned, this is for a period of 1 year with 4 one-year options to renew, and would represent approximately $180,000 in annual revenue.
Thank you, Director. So you bringing this forward to us today, we assume that they are a good operator within our airport system, is that correct?
They're in good standing with us at this time.
Great. And the rent is fair market value for the space, Director?
Correct, yes.
Okay. All right, this went through Transportation Mobility, was approved. I chair that committee. Do we have questions on break room space and other space for refueling airlines at the airport? Hearing none, ordinance 1010-2023 is approved. Please sign. All right, Director, I've got 1024-2023 by Councilmembers McCormick and Griffin by department request. An emergency ordinance determining the method of making public improvement of constructing, excavating, installing, maintaining, sealing, repairing, replacing, and I remember this one, and disposing of concrete and asphalt surfaces, concrete and concrete structures and appurtenances on runways, taxiways, ramps, passenger boarding, bridge, foundations, parking areas, sidewalk, roadways, catch basins, and other surfaces for the various divisions of the Department of Port Control, and authorizing the Director of Port Control to enter into one or more public improvement requirement contracts for the making of the improvement for a period of 2 years, with 2 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Port Control. Concrete, talk to us about concrete, Director.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. So the pavement needs of Port Control, especially at Burke and at Hopkins, are vast and deep. The maintenance and improvement supports our commitment to operational safety for aircraft and vehicles alike. Pavement, by our definition, covers, as mentioned, a wide range from taxiways to runways, roadways, driveways, parking areas, et cetera. So these services are required to perform installations, repairs, replacements, and enhancements, which are outside the scope of our internal capability. The period of coverage would be 2 years with 2 one-year options to renew, and we ask for your approval.
Thank you, Director. So I believe your staff person was here. I forget her name. I'm sorry.
Dina Wilson, yes.
And what she indicated, Director, is this is a consolidation to streamline services. Is that correct?
That's correct. So what we've done in the past and currently, we have separate agreements. But the big difference is that we're going to have a need for replacement of loading bridge foundations going forward. That's not in the current scope. Our current agreements expire next year. It just seemed to be a good time for us to go out again to provide more definition in the new scope and to include the ability to do that work. So that's why we're coming to you in this way and hoping to also streamline some things in the process by consolidating this effort.
Great. What is a loading bridge foundation?
So it's a pedestal of concrete that the loading bridge apparatus actually sits on. So there's sort of a stand that sits on top of the concrete block, and then the bridge itself.
And that's the bridge that you go from the airport to the plane?
To the aircraft,
Got
correct,
it.
sir.
All righty.
Yes.
What questions do I have on concrete contracting for the airport, 1024-2023?
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Hairston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the Director, is this work bidded out? Do you bid this out? Have you issued an RFP for a contractor for this work?
So through the chair to the council person, that's what this is for. We're going to be going out for that work through the procurement effort.
All right, so there'll be an RFP or some sort of bid release to the public?
Correct.
All right. Can you provide us to staff, the MBE, FBE, CSB numbers for whoever holds this contract currently? If you could provide it to our staff. I don't need it today. But
Okay,
you can provide it
certainly.
to the staff.
But for clarification, Director, there's no existing contract, correct? This is a new approach?
This will be a different approach. We do have agreements in place separately.
Okay.
For asphalt and for concrete, so we can get that information
Great.
for you. through
Okay,
the
this just is new
Chair through the
approach.
council
Okay.
member.
All right, sounds good. If you can forward to council staff also when that RFP goes out, that our council staff person, Mr. Tytron, and our clerk Britt receives that information. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And our folks, Joe, you got that? All righty. Any additional questions on 10/24/2023? Hearing none, 10/24/2023 is approved. Please sign. That's all I got for you, right?
Thank you. Yes,
All
sir.
right, thank you, Director.
Thank you very
Health,
much.
come on up. Ordinance 1183/2023 by Council Members Conwell and Griffin by departmental request to amend sections 24105 and 24135 of the Code of Ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, as amended by ordinance number 988/2022, passed October 10, 2022, relating to food shop licenses, fees, and categories. Director.
Thank you, Chair. This is our annual time before you to update our food licenses, fees, as our work as a delegate for the state of Ohio. They send us a complicated formula. We plug in the numbers based on the number of hours worked, and that gives us a license fee, and we update it in front of you.
All righty. All right, can you please give us a high level on the changes here?
Sure. To the chair, for the most part, the fees are really some small changes. Most are going up a few bucks here and there, but the mobile fee actually goes down this year, which does happen every few years, just based off of hours of labor required for licenses.
Okay. And Director, can you just talk to us briefly about how those are calculated?
Sure, yeah. So we look at the number of license given by the department divided by the number of hours required on all of the inspections added up and what those hours of labor cost based on salaries and benefits.
Okay. All righty. Councilman Conwell, this went through the Health and Human Services and the Arts Committee, sir.
So moved.
Okay.
Oh, I do have a sidebar to tell him. I will be at University Hospital tomorrow morning.
Okay.
On that issue.
Okay.
That, I left the table to call you.
Okay. Okay.
You
Here
don't
I
have
am.
to call me back.
Okay. Oh, great.
All righty. Councilman Polensek on 1183.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, my own colleague, the director, so what is posted here is the yearly charge, is that correct?
Through the chair to the council member, that is correct.
So so as it pertains to food establishments, grocery stores, convenience type stores, are there changes there?
Through the chair to the council member, every year there are changes, either a little bit up or a little bit down. And so,
What category would that fall into here in the presentation?
through the chair to the council member, that would be so you're asking about a prepared food grocery store?
Yeah, grocery store, corner convenience, a neighborhood bakery, neighborhood meat market, where was that all fall?
That would be on the risk level, either 2 or 3 for the 5th page there on the executive summary. So it says establishments less than 25,000 square feet of floor space versus food establishments greater than 25,000 square feet of floor space.
So again, like if the neighborhood bakery, meat market would be level 2, or what would it be?
Yeah, I think that would be a level 2, though I'm not an expert in that particular distinction, but you can see the rate would go for a level 2, for example, would go from $214 to $256. Level 3 would go $382 to $476.
And you established that rate, or who's recommending that?
That's from the state of Ohio.
Is recommended?
They recommend the ceiling, the height that we can go to, and we tend to follow their recommendation year to year.
So in the course of your discussion, did you have any thoughts on how this is impacting small neighborhood stores, bakeries, meat markets that are struggling right now?
Through the chair to the council member, absolutely. We, again, they say the absolute most that we can go to, and we try and take a smaller portion of that.
So what would be a level 3, level 4?
Like a full-service restaurant would be level 3, level 4.
So you're going from that, so like on a level 4, you'd be raising that another $60?
Through the chair, yes.
And then what would be a 3?
Would be like a restaurant, let's say, with maybe less food options, right?
Good.
Exactly.
Okay.
Very understand. So, in the course of raising these fees, Mr. Chairman and my own colleagues, is there any assurances or any commitment to having more inspections or more inspectors out there, which has been a great concern of mine over the years?
Through the chair to the council member, we've got a number of vacancies in our department. We are working quickly to fill those vacancies. We have 12 vacancies.
12 vacancies?
12 vacancies, yep.
Health inspection?
About 10 health inspectors.
That's not good, Mr. Chairman, to the director. I mean, we've all, those of us, especially East Side members, have always been concerned about the caliber of the stores operating in our neighborhoods with regard to wholesomeness, cleanliness, food items that are on the shelf. We've had a historic issue with outdated food in items. And so it's one thing to raise fees. It's another thing to provide for greater services and greater inspections, which is something that I'm pretty concerned about. So any reassurance as to when those positions are going to be filled? I mean,
Through the chair to the council member, we have 4 in progress now. The positions for the first time ever are posted continuously, and I gave an in-depth presentation this morning to our community health about everything that we're doing to fill those positions. So they're on the way. I think much of the concerns that you've expressed to our team have been on convenience stores that we don't have licenses for. And again, as you know, that's legislation that I've brought to you to consider for tobacco retail licenses for those convenience stores that sell tobacco that we could be licensing and inspecting.
so like, Mr. Chairman, to the director, like a Family Dollar, Dollar General, what category would they come?
I can't remember the category, but I did bring the full inspection reports in my presentation this morning on Family Dollar. So any council member, any resident of the community of our viewing audience can go to clevelandhealth.org, scroll down to food inspection reports. You can type in the Family Dollar in your ward, and you can see the most recent inspection.
Because I'll tell you, those places are disgusting. They're disgusting. They would never, I don't believe they would ever operate stores like this on the suburbs. That's my opinion. I can't believe they would. And to see the condition of the stores in the city is, quite frankly, outrageous. I have my, again, Mr. Chairman, I have my reservations again. It's one thing to raise inspection fees. It's another thing to have inspectors. And that's not happening. I mean, okay, I'll leave it at that. Okay.
Thank you.
Through the chair, as I said, we've got 4 in progress. The position for the first time ever is now posted continuously, and so we think it's a great place to
What does
work.
that mean, posted continuously?
So historically, at the table, you've said to me, you've got vacancies. Where are the postings? And I've said to you, I don't know. But fortunately, that time has changed. Working with a new civil service director, Rashawn Long, we're in a great position, and our positions of high need are posted continuously.
Great. Okay. Yep.
Could you send us your prerequisites, what somebody needs, kind of background they
Those
need?
job
Absolutely.
postings.
Yep.
That's great.
Because I don't know if they have to have, some kind of skill level or whatever the case may be. With all these positions, Mr. Chairman, across the city, we need to figure out, what are the skill levels, what are the hourly rates? We need to do whatever we can so we can promote it in our newsletter.
That's right.
As well. Thank you.
That's right. I appreciate
Mr.
that.
Chair, can
Thank
I
you,
add to
Councilman.
that?
Yeah, Councilwoman Santana.
So, Councilman Polenzek, I agree with you, and we are going to bring Human Resources Director Matthew Cole to the table through Workforce. And I know that if you're not on the committee, you don't normally attend, but we are really going to hone down on those numbers
Good.
and those positions. So
Thank you.
just want to let you know.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Do I have any other questions on 1183, 2023? Hearing none, 1183, 2023 is approved. Please sign. All right. 1186, 2023 by Councilmembers Conwell and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to amend Section 21301 of the Codified Ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, as amended by ordinance number 123412, passed December 3rd, 2012, relating to public swimming pools, public spas, special use pools, license, and fees. Director.
Through the chair, we are pleased to be in front of you today to update our pool fees. Now, unlike restaurant fees that we've been coming to you every single year, the last time we were in front of you for pool fees was 2012. Going forward, we will be in the habit of bringing pool fees and restaurant fees together. Similarly, we are the delegate for the state of Ohio. They send us the formula, we plug in the numbers, and we choose a fee based off of that. So this will be a jump from our 2012 prices to now 2023, 2024.
All righty, thank you. So, Director, public swimming pool, do we charge ourselves for our pools?
Through the chair, yes, we do. We are our number one customer.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Do we Venmo it from one account to the other? Okay. All right. In a private pool?
Private pool would be like our hotels for the most part,
All right.
and those nightclubs downtown.
So have you arm wrestled Ahmed over this, Chief Albanama? You won apparently. This is in front of us.
Through the chair, it's gone through finance, as you can see the signature on the legislation. Let's not ask too many questions.
All righty. Councilman Conwell, this went through the Health and Human Services and the Arts Committee. All righty. Do I have Councilman Polensek on 1186?
So, so these are, you're going to inspect swimming pools that are in use? Correct.
Through the chair to the council member. So we have been, this is part of our, what health inspectors do in the Department of Public Health, Division of Environment. We have 96 pools that we inspect every year that are applying for a permit. So they'd be ones that are in use, yes.
So if a pool is empty, you would not inspect that?
Through the chair to the council member, we do if they're applying for a permit, and a lot of those empty pools that are ongoing repairs are applying for permits. So we do inspect empty pools as well.
So could you tell me, and I make a official request to the chair, can you tell me what's the status of the closed pool at Collinwood High School?
Through the chair to the council member, that would be a question I would direct you to Public Works and MOCAP.
Okay. So, because it's in CMSD building, so you would not inspect that pool?
Through the chair to the council member, we would inspect it, but I can't give you a timeline on their construction or the
No,
the
it's
work
not
that-
construction. It's a Cleveland Metropolitan
So,
School
Councilman,
District building.
Are you asking for a inspection report on
Yes.
this pool?
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were
Yeah.
asking for a timeline for when it was opening.
No, it has nothing to do with that.
Okay, I apologize.
Yeah.
Through the chair to the council member. you can
I'd like to
absolutely-
know what's going on with that pool.
I can give you the last
Thank
inspection.
you.
Yep, no problem.
All righty.
I
All righty,
apologize.
thank you. Do I have additional questions on pool fees? 1186. All righty, 1186, 2023 is approved. Thank you, Director. Finance. Come on up. Ordinance number 1197, 2023 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request. Emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance to enter into one or more contracts with MGT of America Consulting. Is that Marjorie? Oh, that's MTG, Marjorie Taylor Green. Okay. LLC for preparation of cost allocation plans and indirect cost rates for the Department of Finance.
To the chair and to the committee, this request comes out of the audit comment from the auditors. The last time that we updated our indirect cost plan and our CAP, our cost allocation plan was right before the RNC came to the city. Should be updated every, I think, 2 years, so we're a little bit behind on that. So we did get a management comment from the auditors when they came this past year, mainly as it revolves around the indirect cost piece because of our federal programs. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get that done this year, so we're in compliance, and then we can clear that comment with the auditors, and then we plan on trying to stay up to date and do this every 2 years after this.
Thank you.
Turn it over to Greg Kordick to explain a little bit more about
I was going to say, what is the cost allocation plan? Why do we need it? Tell us more.
Sure. Through the chair of the council, what our indirect costs and cost allocation plan is
is this is a way that our general fund can recover costs that we use on behalf of enterprise funds. So the overhead functions that the departments or the divisions of finance that use for enterprise fund purposes, our law department as well, all of these costs are allocated and then charged back to enterprise funds and federal awards.
Okay. Got it, the chargebacks then. Okay. Councilman Polensek, 1197.
So we've used them in the past.
Through the chair to the councilman, no, we have not used this particular vendor in the past before, but we've used another vendor that provided this same kind of service.
And who is the former vendor?
Fiscal Choice, through the chair to the councilman.
Okay, so you went out for requests. Did you put this out? How did you come up with this company?
To the chair of the council, this company came off a cooperative agreement, so they actually competitively bid these on these cooperative agreements or the state term. This one actually came off a cooperative agreement, so we actually went out there and looked, and then that's how we chose this firm.
So how many other firms applied? Do we know?
And we compared this against several different firms that are in the cooperative agreement. We usually compare at least 3 firms to take a look at which one provides the best price, best service, and our timeline's short, so it's also we had to consider how quickly they could do this. So we took a look at that. So normally when we use in our cooperative agreement, we will look at least 3 that are out there, either on state term or different cooperatives.
So is this a local company?
Through the chair to the councilman, they have an office in Columbus, and I want to say that they're based out of Florida.
Based out of Florida. And so, again, I'm just trying to educate myself. So that they're going to look at the they're going to look at the general fund's support of the enterprise accounts.
Yeah, so what they'll take a look at is they'll take a look at like payroll processing, because we do that in finance for the entire city.
Okay.
Purchasing, so all the centralized services that we
Yes.
provide, budget, et cetera, they take a look at that and they come up with a methodology to charge it back to federal grants as well as the enterprise funds.
And that's going to be for every enterprise account that the general fund interacts with?
Through the chair to the councilman, yes, every enterprise fund that doesn't have a subsidy. So the West Side Market is subsidized, so they wouldn't have any indirect cost that they would need to pay back to the general fund.
Okay, like public auditorium.
No.
Public auditorium also is subsidized by the general fund, so they wouldn't be part of the indirect cost. The major players would be water pollution control, CPP, airport,
parking,
parking as well, and any federal grant that we receive.
Okay, and this is, and I'm just trying to educate myself. So and this is a federal requirement?
Through the chair of the
Or
council,
state requirement?
It's a federal requirement for the federal programs. We're
Okay.
required by the feds to do an indirect cost plan, so we have a methodology to properly charge back these costs.
Okay.
That's required by the feds. The actual enterprise allocation is not required by the feds. That's just something that we do to allocate those costs, because we need a methodology that's proven to charge back to those funds, because those are standalone entities. You
Yes.
can't just take their money without a solid justification.
No, I'm aware of that, and a lot of this was implemented as a result of default. I mean, I was here through that whole gory process, so I'm very much aware of the steps we had to take to make sure that that the chargebacks and that general fund dollars were not being misused with regard to enterprise accounts and vice versa. So I'm just trying to understand it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Additional questions on 1197-2023? Hearing none, 1197-2023 is approved. Please sign. Nope, I've got 2 walk-on pieces. Director, come on up. All right. I've got 2. Good afternoon. 2 HR pieces that are being requested for interim passage. Director, before you describe the piece, tell us why these need to be introed and passed tonight. I'm going to read the first one. Ordinance number 1239, 2023, by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance to amend Section 38 of Ordinance 194, 2021, passed March 29, 2021, as amended relating to the salaries for various classifications. 1239, Director.
Oh, sorry. Are you reading both, Chairman? I'm
Nope,
sorry, just
one
the
at a time.
first.
1239.
We are requesting emergency passage, basically due to the timeliness of the legislation. So the first one here is the ratification of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, AFL-CIO Local 39 Collective Bargaining Agreement.
So 1239, Director reads firefighters.
Did I write? I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
I was on the wrong one. I
No worries.
apologize.
All right.
This first one is actually to accomplish two things. One is to create an airport chief of aircraft rescue and firefighting position, which is part of the Port Control's bigger plan for their positions as related to ARF. And then the second part of it is to actually amend the pay band, Section 38, to include the new position. So it is, in fact, excuse me, a new position. And just as a side note, the pay band in part is based upon a compensation survey conducted with similar positions in airports elsewhere.
And Director, are these negotiated with Local 93? Who negotiates these pay bands?
To the chairman, this, for Local 39, this is actually a non-bargaining position.
Okay.
But the classification wasn't actually included in Section 38 because it's new. So the Civil Service Commission accepted the position, and so now we're requesting legislation to include it.
Okay. You have a question?
Yeah.
Councilman
Oh.
Polensek.
Isn't that a little backward?
Through the chair to Councilman Polensek, I'm not sure if that's backwards, to be honest.
Can you expand it?
Well, just based on the director's comments, in essence, this is the chief that would be in charge of fire suppression out at the airport, correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay. Does that position do they have to be a certified firefighter?
I would hope so. I mean, it doesn't say in the legislation. I would sure hope that the chief of fire has to be a firefighter.
That's
Well, I mean,
correct.
if you're going to be a firefighter in the city of Cleveland, you got to be a certified firefighter.
Through the chair to Councilman Polensek, so it does have several minimum qualifications related to oversight of fire safety at airports. What it also has is especially experience commanding hazmat operations. It says it must obtain State of Ohio Firefighter 2 certification within 1 year date of hire.
The position does?
That's correct. That's a minimum. And then preferred also includes a certified airport master firefighter, preferred upon hire.
Preferred, but not required.
Not for the airport master firefighter certification. It's preferred. I do not know if that's something that they would move to have the new chief obtain, but at least at hire it's preferred.
So what I'm trying to understand here, and please correct me if I'm asking questions that are off base. I'm under the impression you guys have hired somebody already.
Through the chair to Councilman Polensek, I don't believe anybody's been hired for this position.
Okay. So then what's the rush?
Through the chair to Councilman Polensek, I think that the rush is that the plan for the airport has been in process for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I believe they're trying to get things moving as quickly as possible so that we can, in fact, get this posted and filled.
Okay, but and again, this predates you, but there had been questions raised in the past that the chief of fire out there did not have the proper certification and was not a certified firefighter. And that was an ongoing issue out there with rank and file. And so I just want to make sure that this is just not an effort to circumnavigate that. That position is a critical position, need to say the least. When you're dealing with aviation and everything associated with it, with potential dangers, I would like to think that the chief of fire out there would be a certified firefighter and have all the proper credentials before we hire that person out there.
Director, can you read the piece of the requirement? You talked about preferred, but the requirement certification, can you read that back again?
Sure, what I read earlier was that the candidate must obtain State of Ohio Firefighter 2 certification within 1 year of date of hire. As a side note, Chair, I do believe that that probably is worded as such because there could be someone who comes from outside of Ohio for this position.
The Firefighter 2 certification, I'm not familiar with all of the certifications. Is that a fully trained firefighter? I mean, is that?
Chairman, I'm not entirely sure.
But that's a requirement.
That
not
is a
preference.
requirement.
Okay.
I should note too, and I apologize, there's a lot of requirements. So I'm just trying to siphon down to address Councilman Polensek's concern. It does state too that the candidate must have a bachelor's degree in fire science, fire administration, emergency management, business or public administration as well, and 10 years of full-time paid safety experience at a commercial airport, 5 of which must be at a lieutenant or higher. So I'm going to assume that if someone is 10 years of full-time paid safety experience, 5 of which must be at a lieutenant or higher with the responsibility for managing personnel, would be indicative that they would have been a fireman.
And Mr. Chairman, what's the proposed pay band for that position?
$31,000 to $180,000. Our pay bands are.
So,
I mean, they're all crazy.
They are.
So, Mr. Chairman, to the director, the legislation that is before us, is this for all the employees or just the one position? All the firefighters or just the one position?
Through the chairman to Councilman Polensek, this addresses specifically the airport chief.
Just the airport chief?
Correct.
Well, I don't know, Mr. Chairman. I'm not aware of what the rush is, and
So, I mean, can you speak to? So this is a airport fire chief. I mean, it's only slated for finance, but obviously it touches transportation, it touches safety.
Yeah.
Again, the rush on this is.
So I in all fairness, Chairman, I wasn't aware that this was considered a walk-on. So I apologize for
Well, then,
that.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to expedite. I'd ask that the legislation be held and that the administration come in with a better explanation.
Is there any
as-
objection from the committee to hold 1239? Any objection? All right, we will hold 1239, 2023, Madam Clerk, to
Thank
not be introduced and heard tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, Director, 1240, 2023 by Councilmember.
You can introduce it. They can introduce it
Just
first
not
reading.
passage?
Yeah.
Okay, then let's
Yeah.
introduce first reading,
Yeah.
just first reading. Great, thank you. Ordinance number 1240, 2023 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance approving the collective bargaining agreements with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, AFL-CIO, Local 39, and to amend Section 25 of Ordinance number 194, 2021, passed March 29, 2021, as amended relating to the salaries for various classifications. So, Local 39, electrical workers, Director.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is to accept the ratification of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, AFL-CIO 39 collective bargaining agreement, retroactive to April 1st of 2022, expiring March 31st of 2025. It is also to amend the pay band to reflect the associated rates. This is a collective bargaining agreement that affects about 127 employees thus far.
And this is a 222, Director?
It is plus a 2% equity adjustment as well.
Okay.
That's retroactive to 4/1 of 22, but the rest is 222.
So Local 39 electrical workers, 120 employees, a 222 with a 2% equity adjustment. What questions do I have on 1240, 2023?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Palencic.
how does explain the equity adjustment? How does that work?
Through the chairman to Councilman Palencic. So generally, an equity adjustment is something that is bargained, essentially, whereas the union is proposing to bring them up to a higher rate of pay based upon a variety of factors. Could have been market, could have been possibly previous collective bargaining agreements not having increases or lower increases.
Okay.
But you know, there was negotiation at the table,
Yes.
which basically, you know, I'm inferring that they were looking to get them up higher, to at least 2% higher in the rates of pay.
So I'm just trying to I'm trying to educate myself. Is this been a pattern that's been taking place, the 222 and an equity adjustment?
Through the chair to Councilman Palencic, I can't tell you if it's been a pattern just
Okay.
due to my short time here.
Okay.
Equity increases are not uncommon. 2% are common
Yes.
in the public sector.
Okay.
That I can tell you.
What I'm saying is, okay, it's 222. How is it the 2% equity adjustment? Is it over the entire course of that, another 2% on top of that, or is it 2% first and then 222? How does that implement it?
Through the chair, it would be 2% first, retroactive to April 1st of 22,
And then
and then it's layered over.
And then 2% on top of that for the remaining
That's correct.
course of the year?
In each of the contract years.
Okay. So I'm just wondering, because I'm trying to figure out, because in the past, there's been pattern of bargaining, and I'm just trying to understand what the process is, because obviously, the council has some major financial challenges ahead of us, especially with regard to this PB issue on the ballot, issue 38, because that will estimated to take $14 million out of the general fund. Every year. And then we understand, obviously, we're going to be waiting for the administration to submit the legislation for the increases for Cleveland Police Department, the increases. So that's going to be another estimated $16 million. And again, when that comes in. So I'm just trying to look at the big picture as we go forward as to the financial implications going into next year. Because I'm greatly concerned, I will tell you, at the table. I'm greatly concerned. I want to make sure that we don't find ourselves in a situation where we could possibly, because none of us have a crystal ball as it pertains to this economy. The worst case scenario, we go into next year, and then that we have to deal with the challenges of either pay reductions or reduction of employees, which would be the worst case scenario. So I hope the administration's looking at the big picture here as we move forward. That's all I'm hoping for. Because when we pass the people's budget come next year, that I want to make sure the people's budget is supplying the services that our citizens want. And I'm greatly concerned about this issue 38, how it's going to negatively impact, if it passes, how it's going to negatively impact city services and the level of city employment. Services are nothing to write home about right now, and I don't want to see a reduction in services. So that's where I'm at. I'm looking at all this stuff across the board. I'm looking not only today, but I'm looking a year from today, implications that this body could be confronted with. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Additional questions on 1240-2023? Hearing none, 1240-2023 will be entertained by the entire council this evening. So we're good to advance this one. That's all I got, Director, unless you got something else.
No, I'll follow up on my first one.
Thank you so much. This Finance, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee at Cleveland City Council is adjourned.